Everyone, I would like to thank all of you for coming today. I want to particularly take a moment to thank all of the veterans who have come out today on this cold day for no other reason than to support one another in this important fight. We're here today to call upon the Governor Cuomo to keep his promise that he made to every veteran in New York State on Veterans Day in 2015, when he publicly agreed to advance legislation in the form of Assembly Bill 8174A and Senate Bill 5937, which is commonly referred to as the Veterans Buyback Bill. These two bills, along with their predecessor bills, Assembly Bill 6974B and Senate Bill 7839, sought to amend the Retirement and Social Security Law Section 1000, which provides up to 3 years service credit for military service by employees of state and local governments and school districts. However, Section 1000 applies only to veterans whose service was performed during World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and hostilities in Lebanon, Grenada, Panama, the Persian Gulf, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, and the Red Sea. Assembly Bill 8174A and the Senate Bill 5937, as well as their predecessor bills, all four of which were vetoed by Governor Cuomo, sought to remove the requirement of military service in those limited conflicts, thereby allowing credit for all service in the United States military at home and abroad. That is the reason why we're here today. Both in 2014 and 2015, the Veterans Buyback Bill overwhelmingly passed both the Assembly and the Senate. Every elected official here today has been a sponsor of this legislation and supports its passage fully. After the bill's passage in both 2014 and 2015, Governor Cuomo vetoed the bill, citing immediate and future fiscal cost of the bill on both the state and local government districts. Despite his second veto in 2015 and after public calls for the legislature to override the veto, Governor Cuomo publicly announced to work towards the passage of this bill and try to include funding for the Veterans Buyback Bill in the 2016 and 2017 New York State budget. With this announcement, veterans across New York State had placed hope in the governor's promise, only to be disappointed with the release of the governor's proposed budget on January 13th, which did not include either funding or language for the passage of the Veterans Buyback Bill. And that disappointment grew last week with the release of the governor's 30-day amendments to the budget, which again did not contain language or funding for the Veterans Buyback Bill. The governor's failure to include this legislation and appropriate funding in his proposed budget is either a broken promise or an inexcusable attempt to use this issue as a chip in budget negotiations. Now, let me be clear on this point. The governor's concerns over the immediate and future fiscal cost of this bill is not only warranted, but commendable. After years of seeing New York State failing to consider fiscal cost of the legislative action beyond the immediate news headlines, I commend Governor Cuomo for taking the prudent executive action of analyzing the fiscal ramifications of every bill, including the Veterans Buyback legislation. However, that is not the case here. The inclusion or lack thereof of the Veterans Buyback Bill in the governor's proposed budget is simply an issue of priorities and not fiscal cost. Whereas the governor chose to not include the Veterans Buyback Bill, wanting people to believe that it is a cost issue, the governor did choose to include in his budget many costly initiatives that also have reoccurring costs, such as a new campaign finance system, where public tax dollars will be used to fund private political campaigns, the DREAM Act that will allow undocumented college students to secure taxpayer financial aid, the third year of Buffalo Billions to revitalize that city. And that's just to name just three costly initiatives the governor chose to include in his proposed budget in place of the Veterans Buyback Bill. It is a matter of priorities, and I believe, as every person up here believes, that our priorities should be yesterday, today, and tomorrow, our veterans. We have a responsibility to give back to every veteran in this state who has sacrificed and fought to preserve our freedom, whether that service was in wartime or peacetime. This issue should not be a chip for the governor to use in budget negotiations. Veterans should never be used as political leverage under any circumstances. So we call upon Governor Cuomo today to keep his earlier promise, his earlier Veterans Day promise, and include in the 2016 and 2017 New York State budget the language and the funding for the Veterans Buyback Bill, and ensure equality for all veterans throughout New York State on this issue. Now, before I conclude and ask other individuals to come up and speak on this issue, I would like to state that the governor's office did contact me this morning and inform me that despite not including the Veterans Buyback Bill in his proposed budget, The governor is working on this issue with the main bill sponsors, Assemblywoman Poland and Senator Larkin, and there is real progress being made to pass the legislation. Let me say, I have great respect for the governor, but after 2 legislative vetoes, a Veteran Day promise, and a proposed executive budget that did not reference the Veterans Buyback Bill, I told the governor's office that I hope this is true, but we will wait and see. At this time, I'm going to ask Assemblyman Joseph Saladino, who is the head of the Nassau County Assembly Republican Conference, to come up and say a few words.